Everyone.
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Yes. Okay, last lecture we have discussed about the long radius returns, cross, concentric reducer, centric reducer, cap, teeth, or butt ends. Now, see the stub end class A and class B. The stub ends to reduce the cost of piping. Stub ends are used with the backing flange for flange joints when exotic materials are used in piping. So for this purpose, we can use the stub ends to reduce the cost of pipings, and stub ends used with backing flanges for flange joints when exotic material are used in piping system. As per ASME 16.9 specifies two types of stub ends. So with the help of this standard, ASME B 16.9, there are two types of stub ends. First one is a long stub ends, and the short stub ends. So the length of stub ends as per MSS-SP-43 is the same as that of short stub. So here we can decide the length of stub end as per MSS-SP-43. So that is manufacturer standardization special practice 43, and MSSP-43 specifies two class. So the help of ASME B 16.9, there is a two type of stub ends. One is a long end stub end, and another one is short stub ends. And another standard that is MSSP 43 specifies two classes. That is stub end class A and stub end class B. Here, two classes. First class A with radius, and second class without radius at the corner. See here, the corners, there is no radius in class A with radius. See here, there is a slight radius. And class B, there is no radius. The pipe is connected. So this is the difference. When we consider the stub end, class A and class B as per MSSP 43, class B can be used with slip-on flanges. So another type of class is slip-on flanges. Designer selects stub ends. So designer select stub ends, long or short. Ensure the weld-up pipe to stub end not get covered by flange. So based on this, designer selects the stub end may be long or short and ensure the weld-up pipe to stub end not get covered by flange. When class A stub ends are used, the inner diameter of backing flange is chamfered for better sitting. So might be you are heard this terminology is chamfered in workshop technologies. So here we can use stub ends. The inner diameter of backing of flange is chamfered for better sittings. The minimum lap thickness should be same as that of the pipe wall. Here we have to consider the minimum lap thickness should be the same as that of the pipe wall. When the spatial facings such as tongue and groove. So there is a special facings we call tongue and groove, that is a male and female are employed. Additional lap thickness shall be provided. The gasket face finish shall be provided with serration as required. So as per MEB 16.9. So the stub vents as per the standards, and we can the inner diameter of backing flange tempered by the better settings, and to consider the gasket face finish shall be provided with section required as per ASMEB 16.9. Now next fitting element is the couplings. Here couplings are three types. First one is a full couplings, second one is half couplings, and third one is a reducing couplings. Here couplings are used to connect small bore pipes as projection of welding inside the bore pipes. When butt welding is used to reduce the flow area, butt weldings is used. When will we use the butt weldings? Projection of welding inside the pipe bore. When butt welding is used to reduce the flow area. Now next is half couplings. Half couplings are used for branch connections. Means can connect number of pipes, 2, 3 pipes. Is used for branch connection and reducing coupling for size reduction. Now next is reducing couplings. Reducing couplings maintain the pipe center lines same, and eccentric swage nipples are used to maintain the outside surface same for subsistence. So here reducing couplings maintain the center lines same, and eccentric swage nipples are used to maintain the outside surface for such systems. For this purpose, we will use the reducing couplings. So here, coupling is used to connect small bore pipes as projection of welding in the pipes. So here, can connect different kind of couplings. So here, swage nipples. Again, the help of swage nipples, we have to maintain the outside surface for such systems. So based on their abbreviations like PBE, plain both ends, PLE, that is a plain large ends, and third one is PSE, that is a plain small end, and BLE is given large ends. Next is TSE, that is braided small ends. So that kind of ends are used for swage nipples, and swage nipples are used to maintain the outside face for such systems. Swage nipples but are used to connect butt welded pipe to smaller screw or socket welded pipes. There are types of swage nipples. First one is a concentric swage nipple, and second one is eccentric swage nipples. Various combinations of ends are used in piping industries, such as PBE, PLE, BLE, TSE. The end connections are used in chemical industry, and swage nipples are designated based on their end connections. Closed ends, plain large ends, plain small end, threaded small ends. So for this purpose, we can use swage nipples like reducers. Here, the help of this swage nipple to connect butt welded pipes to smaller screw or socket welded pipes. Now, next component is union. Unions are used in low pressure pipe. Low pressure piping can use unions where dismantling or disassemble the pipe is required more often. Frequently, we need to disassemble the piping systems. Then we can use unions as an alternative to flanges. So, can use union as an alternative to flanges. For this purpose, we can use unions. Unions can be threaded end or with socket weld ends, maybe threaded ends or with socket weld ends. There are three pieces: two end pieces to attach to the rubber band means piping ensure sealings in unions. So for this purpose, we can use union in piping industries. Okay, next, special fittings. So these are fittings which are restrictive use. So there is a restriction using the special fittings. We cannot use everywhere in piping industries. For chemical industries, petrochemical industries, or hydrocarbon industries. Based on their special applications, so we can use the special fittings. Therefore, show some restrictions. First is weldolate. Weldolate is used for butt weld branch connection where standard T is not available. Why it is not available? Due to size restriction and the piping is a critical or high pressure service. In this case, to use weldolates. They used for butt weld branch connections where standard T is not available. Standard T specified by ASME standards but is not available, then we can use weldolates due to size restriction and piping is a critical or high pressure service. Now next is socolate is used for socket welding branch connection and earlier weldolate is used for butt weld branch connection. See the difference between weldolate and sockolates is used for socket welding branch connections and socolate is required reinforcing pad Then we can use the chocolate special fittings. Now next is threaded load special fitting used for threaded branch connection. See the difference, the threes, chocolate, threadolate and weldolate. So here threadolate is used for a threaded branch connections. Now next is elbowlates. Elbowlates is used for branch connection on elbows and have the profiles made to shoot the elbows. For this purpose, we can use elbowlates. And sweepolate is integrally reinforced butt weld branch connection. Say, see, sweepolates, it is integrally reinforced butt weld branch connection. Then we can use sweepolate. Now next is laterolate. Laterolate is used for branch connection at an angle. Requires certain angle in piping system and standard T is not available. Then we can use a laterolate. And nippolate is used the branch connection for different pipes and to fix the wall. For this purpose, we can use the nippolates. So this is all about special fittings in piping industries. Wherever the standard T is not available due to its size restriction and the piping is of critical or high pressure services. In this case, you can use special fittings, that is weldolate, socolates, threadolate, elbowlate, supolate, nippolate and laterolates. Kind of special fittings we use in piping industries. Now next is flanges. So these flanges are used as per ASMEB 16.3 and ASMEB 16.47. So flanges, in flanges there are different type of flanges. First one is socket welded raised face flange. Next is threaded raised face flange, reducing slip on flange, and lap joint flange with stub end, and welding neck raise face flange. And next is expander or reducer flange. So flanges are used when the joint needs dismelting or disassembles. These are widely used mainly at equipments, walls, and special fitting components. In certain pipelines where maintenance is a regular feature, breakout flanges are provided at definite interval on pipelines. A flange joint is a composed of three separate and independent, though interrelated components. Flanges, the gaskets, and the bolting, which are assembled by yet another influence, the fitter. Special controls are required in the selection and application of all these elements to attain a joint which has string for different applications. Now, slip-on type flanges are attached by welding insides as well as outside. Okay, we will continue. Is it visible to everyone?
Yes, yes.
Okay. Flanges, we are discussing about different kind of flanges. So, in flanges are used when joint needs dismantling. These are used mainly at equipments, walls, and special fitting components. In certain pipelines where maintenance is a regular feature, breakout flanges are provided at definite interval on pipelines. A flange joint is a composed of three separate and independent, although interrelated components. The flanges, the cascades, and the boltings, which are assembled by yet another influence, the fitter. The special controls are required in the selection and application of all these elements to attain a joint. Now, first is screwed on flanges are used on pipelines where welding cannot be carried out. Socket weldings and threaded flanges are not recommended for service above 250 centigrade and below minus 45 centigrade. See, will not use socket welding and threaded flanges. Their service means here temperature above 250 centigrade and below minus 45 centigrades. In this case, not use socket welding and threaded flanges. Next flange is a joint flange. Piping industries are use lap joint flanges with stub ends when piping is of costly materials. See, when we use the lap joint flanges with stub ends when piping is of costly materials. Stub ends will be butt weld to the piping and the flanges are kept loose or some. The inside radius of these flanges, say here, inside radius we are using with stub ends. The inside radius of these flanges is chamfered to clear the stub ends. Here we have to perform a chamfering process to clear the stub end radius with class B. So in earlier slide we have discussed about the different kind of classes for stub ends where the class B type stub ends slip on flanges can be used for the same purpose or same duty. So whenever we are using lap joint flanges with stub ends. Next one is welding neck flanges. Here, welding neck flanges. Welding neck flanges are attached by butt welding to the pipes. With the help of butt welding, can attach pipes. These are used mainly for critical services where all the weld joints need a radiography inspection. And we can use welding a flange attached by butt welding to the pipes. While specifying these flanges, the thickness of the welding end should be specified along with the flange specifications. And we can use the welding neck flange. Then go for the welding raise face flange. Here we can use also the reducing flanges used to connect between larger and smaller size without using reducer. Here we can replace reducer with reducing flanges and to connect between large and smaller size without using reducers. In case of reducing flanges, the thickness of the flanges should be that of the higher diameters. Here can use reducing flanges. Sometimes can use blind flanges also. In blind flanges, is it visible?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Blind flanges are used to close the ends like cap, which need to be reopened later. For this purpose, we can use a blind flanges. Now, next one is integral flanges are those which cross along with piping components or equipments. Thickness of integral cast flanges and welded on flanges differ in certain sizes. There are some types of flanges developed by manufacturers in here can use MSS-SP-43. That kind of standards are used to manufacture or developed by different flanges which are not covered in code, means ASME B16.3. They are manufacturer standards. Therefore, they are not covered in code. They are mainly modification on the welding necks. For this purpose, we have to use long welding neck flange. And second one is expander or reducer flange. Here, bolt holes. Here you can see the bolt holes are in multiples of 4 and shall standard the fitting center lines. For this purpose, we can use long welding neck flange and expander or reducer flange, but they are developed by manufacturers or MSSS P-43. Based on these standards, we can develop flanges, some flanges, but they are not covered in codes. So based on piping attachments, we have to use different kind of flanges. First one is slip-on flanges, socket weld, screw, lap joint, welding necks, blind, reducing, and integrals. Are the based on pipe flanges. Slip-on flanges are attached by welding inside as well as outsides. Normally, these flanges are of force constructions and are provided with hub. Sometimes these flanges are fabricated from plates and are not provided with hub. Next flange is socket weld. Socket weld flange are welded only on one side and are not recommended for severe services or critical services. These are used for small bore lines only, having small diameter of pipelines. And we can use socket weld flanges. And the thickness, the connecting pipe should be specified for this type of flanges to ensure proper bore dimensions. So can use socket weld pipes. So that kind of fitting arrangements we can use in piping systems. And based on pressure and temperature rating classes, here different kind of ratings are given for flanges. Like in earlier, in last lecture, we are defined pressure classes like 2000, 3000, 6000, 9000. So here, see the pressure temperature rating. The flanges classified based upon pressure temperature rating were ASMEB 16.5. First class is 150, 300, 400, 600, 900, 1500, and 2500. So we can find out the different kind of flanges. Then need to consider in piping industries. So for some flanges are used for the low pressure and temperature services like 150 class, 300, 400, and onwards go for high temperature and pressure services and critical. Then we can use that kind of flanges also. Now next is based on facings. So stone facings, so there are two types of finishes done on the facings. So considered, so different kind of finishings are done. First one is a smooth finish and serrated finish. And this is the number we can specify the serration arithmetic average roughness height. This is called as AARH. Stands for arithmetic average roughness height. So the smooth finish flanges are specified when metallic gaskets are specified, and serrated finish is provided when metallic gasket is provided. Non-metallic gasket, see the difference. Smooth finish and serrated finish. Smooth finish flanges are specified when metallic gaskets are used, and serrated finish is used when non-metallic gaskets is provided. Whenever some metallic gaskets, then we'll use the smooth finish. and serrated finish can use when non-metallic cascade is provided. Here, serration provided on the facing could be concentric or spirals. Spirals, so we call the phonographics. Concentric serrations are assisted for face finish when the fluid being carried has very low density and can find leakage path through the cavity. And the serrations is specified by this number, which is arithmetic average roughness height. It's called AARH. This is the arithmetic average of the absolute values of measured profile height deviations taken within the sampling length and measured from the graphical center lines to find out the arithmetic average, their absolute values, the help of different kind of profilometers. The help of profilometers, we can find out the profile height deviations taken within the sampling length, and it is measured from the graphical center lines. Then can consider the arithmetic average roughness height. So that kind of face finish are used in piping industries. And for class ratings and based on facings, there is a flat face, raised face, tongue and groove, male and female facings, ring type joint facing that is called as RTG. Here, tongue and groove joint, ring joints, male and female joints, and their pressure temperature ratings. Flat face flanges are used when the counter flanges are flat face. We will use the flat face when the counter flanges are flat face. Then we can use flat face. This condition occurs mainly on connection to CI equipment, that is, the cast iron equipments, walls, and special fitting components. For pressure temperature charts, the standard ASMEB 16.5 specifies the non-shock working gauge pressure to which the flange can be subjected to at a particular temperatures. Here, the indicated pressure class of 150 hash, 300 hash, 400 hash, 600, 900, 1500, and 2500 hash are the basic ratings, and the flanges can be withstand high pressure at low temperatures. ASME 16.5 indicates the allowable pressures for various material constructions and the temperatures. ASME 16.5 does not recommend the use of 150 hash flange above 400 Fahrenheit temperature or 200 centigrades. So this is the restrictions when we are use class 150 hash. And for class 150 and 300 hash flanges used this particular application. The raised face is of 1 or 16th inch and is included in the thickness specified. For higher ratings, means here considered for higher rating 1500 hash, 2500 hash. The flange thickness does not include the raised face thickness. The raised face thickness for higher rating is 1 or 4 inch. This purpose we can use the raised face flanges. For that purpose we can use the raised face flanges and some class 400 and 600 pressure ratings like tongue and groove flanges and male and female based on facings and artige. That kind of flanges are used for critical services in piping industries. So this is all about today's lecture. If you have any questions, any doubts, you can ask your doubts or any questions.
No, sir, no
Yes.
doubts.
Okay, fine. Okay, then we'll close this session here and we'll continue tomorrow.
Okay, sir.
Thank you, sir.